We are thrilled to have a great lineup of panelists with us. Please join in me welcoming our session moderator, Ms. Sakina Rangwala of Etzabish Design. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Mr. Sahil Parikh from FOAID Design Studio. We have Ms. Swathy Sivaraman from StoreyBoard Design. To give a huge round of applause for Mr. Prashant Chauhan from 09. Mr. Raj Periwal from AMA Architect Maheshwari Associates. Let's give it up for him. Okay, this is last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, from JNA Mumbai we have Mr. Jugal Mistri.
Hi. Okay, so I have some great panelists, design professionals in the business for, Sahil, how many years?
14 years.
Swathy?
15 years.
Wow. Prashant?
That's counted from the day you joined the college?
Prashant, design business.
Officially 12, but unofficially I think 22.
Wow.
7.
Raj?
7.
7. And Jugal?
12 years.
So they're already seasoned. They already have a brand out there. Today we're here to talk about content creation, beginner's guide to brand identity. So firstly, I want to understand, what do you guys think of brand identity? What do you think brand identity is? For me, I think it's a visual delight. It's sensory is brand identity. What about you, Sahil?
Okay, so I'm going to talk from experience. We're a 14-year-old practice, and for the longest time, we always believed that you need to be good at what you do, and that's enough. But I think the landscape of design over the last decade, especially in India, has changed so radically, and it's gotten so competitive that I think being good at what you do just helps you line up for the race, not win it, which is where I think consciously creating content with a focus on branding and marketing has become as critical as being good at what you do. So I think the practice has now consciously sort of started shifting towards this whole concept of creating content for the development of a brand.
Yeah, but that's your outreach. Okay, but as a brand, how do you differentiate when I talk of branding, like when I talk of Sahil heads V Design Studio, right? So when I talk of branding, I mean visually, one part of brand identity is your logo, your color palette, all of that. So when you were developing that, how did you think of it, and what made you develop your logo and stuff like that?
I think everything at the end of the day stems from the sensibilities that you develop through your formative years, which essentially comes from many number of factors, mainly the exposure that you've had, the people that you've worked with, your exposure to the discipline in general. We've had the good fortune of working with some of the biggest names in the business, like Bijoy Jain and Siri Architects and Zaha Hadid in London, and I think that's where the core values have essentially come from, and everything is a manifestation of those core values, which are very aesthetic in nature.
Swathy, I know you're waiting to tell me something, and I know you said that you had created a brand first, and then you had to redesign it, and I wanted you to share the experience for the students.
So Sakina, about in the 15 years of corporate stint, 7 years back, I started my own company, right? And at that point of time, being a novice into the entrepreneurial journey, we don't know the value of what branding could do or what is that we want to do. So for me, branding is an emotional connect that needs to resonate what story you want to bring or what narrative you want to bring to your audience. And so strangely, we were initially known as ICA Designs, okay? And at that point of time, we made a company which was called ICA Light and Elite. So we focused a lot on the numbers. We said the light would come for the budget clients, then the Elite would be for the more premium. What happened is that, the guys who belonged to this bucket felt intimidated to come to us on the other segment, and the other guys started looking at us like if they are doing budget homes, then would they be able to cater to something luxury? So that's when we re-looked at the whole thing, and it's very important for us to hear what our audience wants to communicate back to us as a brand. So we changed the whole name, we called it StoreyBoard Design, a reflection of you. So we decided that we're going to focus on the emotions where we're going to craft spaces that tell a story. And then the entire brand ethos changed for us. Our business just shifted overnight, and people started, like the guys who belong to a segment, they started feeling aspirational looking at the brand, and the more premium guys would be like, you know, they're very comfortable and they could kind of resonate with what we were giving as a firm. So to me, branding has been one of the core ethos on which the company is functioned and is successful today. So that's what I'd like to say.
Prashant, about Studio 09, tell me your intellectual identity for the brand mission. How does your brand get that out?
So, so first of all, it's just 09, no studio.
Okay,
nothing.
09.
I'm just clarifying because we have always believed that design is boundless, and that's what our tagline also says. And we start with a very basic philosophy of zero, which is the Indian gift to the world. So we believe that, you know, zero is the gift from India to the world, and 0 and 9 are the only two numbers which, when you add something to, you kind of eventually have the same output. So if you add, say for example, 5 plus 0, it is 5, but 5 plus 9 is 14, and 14 is eventually it is 1 plus 4, 5. So what we wanted to say was very clear, that we are not somebody who will impact or we will change what you are coming with a thought process. We will just tweak it in a very interesting and creative way with our value addition, with our aesthetic addition, and we will kind of bring more life to what your dreams and what your desires are all about. And I think that's whole journey. And of course we are spread over 4 verticals: architecture, interiors, advertising, and exhibitions. So yes, I do this for bread and butter. We develop brand identities for a lot of our clients as well, spreading from reality, jewelry, mass media, and as in all sorts of possible media. And I think I love personally exploring what a brand has to say, because I believe that Jangar mein mor nacha kisne dekha, that kind of philosophy, that every brand eventually needs a right platform. It can't be in the jungle somewhere isolated and cannot be
positioning.
Exactly. So the right positioning at the right timing at the right location, only then it would make a right connect to its audience, and not just its audience but gather more audience in the whole journey as well. So that's what I personally believe in.
Raj, tell me, what is your take on branding for designer firms?
So an interesting thing is that we all have certain ideas and notions of what our brand is, but in reality, the perception of what others have is our true brand. So for example, I have certain thoughts about my brand and the kind of work we do, but in reality, what others perceive is actually our brand. So it's vice versa, and a singular brand perceived by like so much audience, I feel there is no singular identity. All the firms I feel have multiple different identities, give or take. So I think the viewer or the audience is what creates your brand, and like, so yeah.
I think it's a quite valid point.
Yeah, very valid. So that's where content comes in. Because viewers, audience, everybody looks at the content that they have, and that's how they perceive your brand.
And that exactly is the brand, not what sometimes we might think of what we want to do or portray, but it's what others perceive. And I think that's an exciting territory for any firm to be in, because it creates interesting opportunities.
Yeah, so Jugal, my next question, which you were always waiting for, how do you think that the content requirement has evolved over time?
So before that, can I just give my 2 pie bits on personal branding and our business branding? So kind of keeping it more design centric. So like we've kept our logo, we've kept our identity fairly simple, crisp, straightforward. Like it's a black and white logo. It's my name, because we strongly believe that the work should kind of speak for itself. So we are kind of, if you look at our Instagram page, if you look at our overall kind of content, we keep it fairly minimal. It's a more kind of cleaner approach to expressing your ideas, and also that kind of allows our projects to kind of speak for itself. Yeah.
And then tell me, how do you think that content has evolved over the years?
So it's
for
definitely
design, especially.
Yeah. So I guess in the early Instagram years, it was kind of literally looked at as a photo dumping tool or an archival tool. But now we are kind of very quickly seeing a change, where even the audience expects something meaningful, where you're able to value add, where you're able to story tell, where you're able to articulate your design ideas, either through diagrams, sketches. So it's no longer that, tool where you're just sort of trying to fulfill like an Instagram grid, or you're trying to, upload things for the sake of. So we definitely see that shift now. And so more and more, I guess, one needs to focus on what you're uploading, why you're uploading, how is your audience benefiting. So that shift has happened already.
That's my actual next question to all of you, and I'll take those answers one by one. Platforms. There are so many platforms that you create content for. Earlier, content was created for your own media. That is your website, your brochures. Now, do you guys keep in mind the platform you're targeting and then create content accordingly? Sahil?
I think a little bit of both, yes and no. I think the process of design has pretty much been the same, irrespective of scale and typology. But I think now, I think all of us are consciously trying to make the process more transparent. And I think that's where we're also kind of facing our own set of challenges, because we're not used to that. Right from conceptualizing, sketching, right from idea to execution, to buildability, and then to handover.
And to documentation.
And then to documentation. So I think that's the shift that we also collectively all have had to kind of focus on and make over the years.
But has that worked for you? Do you see a difference? Because you've been in both the times.
Yes. The difference is certainly there. I think the more interactive the content, the better the response. In general, at least that's what my personal opinion is.
Swathy?
I'm sure everybody has their own.
So today, with so many social media platforms, I think it's very important for us to obviously filter as to what kind of content can go into which platform, because each has its own specific kind of audience. So it's very important for us to ensure that we are kind of resonating with what that audience is expecting out of us. Example, when you look at an Instagram kind of a platform, it's more visual, it's more about the before and afters and the whole journey that we've taken for a project. Whereas the same thing, when we are going to post it for a LinkedIn, it's got to be more on a thought leadership, more on what's your perspective and what's the entire ethos behind a specific project, more so in terms of just the execution or the construction. It's more to do with that. So I think somewhere down the line that we need to understand these. While the project is the same, the designer is the same, the company is the same, we got to understand this little bit of filter, and I think that can really take you a long way.
So tell me, Prashant, you said you have an advertising vertical also. So I'm sure you understand this business of content creation much better. Give me some insights on what do you think with this ever-evolving content journey? Well, how does it affect your thoughts as and such?
So the way we basically function is, every time a project is documented, we create a storyboard kind of a thing, that this is what we have kind of followed for this particular project as a journey. And we very intensively use AI to tailor make it for various platforms. Like, I simply use Claude and ChatGPT and these kind of platforms to ensure that this content that I have written as original content can be now tailor-made for a LinkedIn post, say can be tailor-made for a Facebook post, or can be tailor-made for say Snapchat or Instagram, and quite few other posts like House and other media houses like that. So we kind of get a little tailor-made help from AI, where we kind of ensure, okay, now this copy is good to go for. Of course, we do a lot of checks as well, but a lot of base work is done, like creating the right kind of hashtags, creating the trending kind of titles or keywords, basically, which kind of help you enhance that post in a certain particular manner. So taking a lot of help from AI and of course developing a base content is what the right mix is, what we follow. And of course it kind of reduces a lot of time and effort, because then you don't have to sit and study every material for every separate this thing. But you know your base storyline is something which is already in place, and then you can kind of create verticals depending on the separate platforms.
Raj, how important is storytelling when you're doing your content?
So, along with visuals, I think storytelling is essential and critical, but the key content for an architect is his drawing. And I think story is definitely a great add-on to that. And it definitely, covers the entire thought process. I'm glad you mentioned storytelling. And since we are on the topic of discussing about platforms and ways of expression, what we personally think is the best way to communicate a story, which is a design. The best platform is your conference room, right? So you create like 50 to 100 pages of content for a single client, and you have his undivided attention. You control the perception. So that 40, 45 minutes of like hours of content creation needs to be narrated via form of story, drawings, etc. to a client. So I feel conference room is unconventional but a very important platform for us architects to really capitalize on and make sure that the content we are presenting to the opportunity that we have in hand is well curated, well thought, not put together in the last minute, because I think those fine-tuning actually make a real difference.
Absolutely, so true.
I will just add to this. And of course, when you say this, it is, of course, tailor-made for each client separately.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but there is your internal stakeholders also, your clients or your external stakeholders, right? So the internal stakeholders, how much importance would they hold in the content that you create? Because it has to be appealing to both. External is, yes, after that creation in the conference room, you present it. But there is an engaging employee engagement also that you do. And content is very important to link those people also. So how do you think that content creation works? Jugal, I'd like to ask you that.
So I guess, creating content, keeping our employees in mind, and because it's a teamwork, the whole practice of
it's
architecture.
a collaboration, agreed.
Exactly. So, anything that comes out of our office is a collective effort. It's essentially who we are. That's the DNA of our firm. That's what each team member truly, honestly believes in. So whether it's a sketch that's being generated, or whether there's a site visit, I think everything is kind of embedded within the core belief that this is what we are doing, this is the project. Also, as an office, though we are a Bombay office, all of our work is outside Bombay. And so we are a very context-based office, and even our staff members are fairly diversified. So we've got people from different parts of the country, and so they all bring a very diverse set of value sets. And that together makes our firm what it is. So I don't see it as a differentiator, like an internal, external, but it's very seamless for us in that sense.
I want to go to his office for lunch.
Open invite.
We'll feed you all the coastal
Exactly.
Konkani.
When he mentioned
Exactly.
everybody comes from different parts of India,
Yes.
I want to go to his office for
what I
lunch.
want to know is, Prashant and Swati, you guys have a tagline with your brand logo. That is not normally seen. What I always learned is your brand identity comes out with a particular tag or a message or something after your logo. So architectural firms, many I don't see have that. Why did you guys have it?
We had to be unique, right, in some way.
Yeah, that's the
And
differentiator.
we had to be different because, you know, it's an interesting take because I'll tell you, yesterday evening I was having a discussion with another architect and he asked me what you're doing. And I said, you know, we are a luxury turnkey. He's like, so what, everyone's doing that. And why are you different? And then I said, so then, you know, I gave him my tagline. I said, I have an experience center. And I had to explain this whole thing. And he said, now it makes sense. So it's very important for us. And the audience is not going to know this because every designer is obviously, we all think we are the best. We all think we're doing justice to what a client comes to us for. But that's where we want to create that difference and an emotional connect with our audience. And these taglines generally kind of resonate. That's the whole idea.
This is a very corporate structure. Normally, all the corporates come with the taglines. And that's what, when I was just studying through all your studios, I realized you two had one, the remaining three. And a lot many more who we go through, they don't have taglines with their logos. You know, so if the logo is flashed, below just comes architecture, interior design or firm. But there is no one line that explains the key message or the brand identity as such. True. Another question, Sahil, I want to ask, how do you deal with perceptions? So the brand that you put out there, your outreach will create a perception. So how do you think, is that good? I mean, how do you maneuver that perception?
I don't know how much of it can really be controlled by us. Like I said to begin with, that essentially our ethos comes from a core set of values, and I think the best you can do is put those values out there in the form of those values manifest themselves in the form of your built work, and that's what you essentially put out there. And I think different people will tend to perceive it differently. So I don't know how much of it can be consciously controlled and maneuvered. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it doesn't, Sahil.
So I'll tell you what, like I started the thing with, the perception comes exactly from, like I said, we initially were perceived as a very different kind of a company, catering to a very different set of audience. The minute you look at your branding, and that's where branding comes into play, and the way you want to tell the story to the audience, that's the perception you're creating with them. And then your work obviously kind of supports the entire aspect. So I think perception is something like a judgment that we pass easily to people, and I think that is the first step for us to understand what is this kind of a place that we want to hold in the market, what is it that we want to cater to.
Prashant, you have something to say?
I think perception also comes when, you know, you have small binders like, you know, t-shirts or, you know, some basic stationery elements which are not very expensive to you, but, you know, it kind of just creates this entire vibe that, oh, this is a team, you know. So it kind of just creates that whole vibe, number one. And of course, perception is always what you show and what you intentionally show and what you eventually show, as in what you naturally show. So both of these as a combination work very importantly to kind of create a thought process into somebody that, oh, this is what this, like for example, if I would say a Godrej, you know, an immediate perception for 80% of the audience out here would say trust. Why? Because ages of legacy and, you know, the storage and the Godrej ka wardrobes and stuff like that. So, you know, it always comes from the point of how the person has seen that brand or how. So that's why I think, smaller binders like this always go a long way. Like, a chota sa tissue paper box kind of a thing branded, or a chota sa coaster, or, a little mug.
Yeah.
These kind of smaller things really go
On-ground
a long
branding.
way, because that kind of forms a very interesting binding element for the entire team also, and they start getting this ownership value, to themselves as well. And of course, once that is there, your team is itself your brand ambassador then. So
True.
then you don't have to be bloody go around
True.
everywhere and just talk about yourself. So they talk about.
True.
Visual perceptions is what you're saying.
But tell me, in our design space, if our brand starts getting perceived in a particular manner, and this I'm saying of your Instagram and all the other visual platforms that you have, does that cause an issue? Because say suppose you're only doing large homes, and your Instagram is flashing with all your villas and the large homes that you're doing, then maybe a 3 BHK Bombay citizen would think twice before connecting that, oh my God, he only does. So that's the perception your Instagram and your visual media has created. How do you work around that?
So-
Jugal?
So I guess sometimes this perception works in your benefit, which is kind of happening to us. So, like we do a lot of luxury homes, and, we do a lot of homes within the coastal region, coastal belt of India, or up north in Delhi. And so that is like the constant feedback we get because of the content we upload on our Instagrams, that, okay, you're only doing villas. And so, you're only getting villa projects, or you're only getting large scale luxury projects. But what we do is, obviously it doesn't, we don't let it bother us. Our idea is to kind of constantly keep delivering, keep, diversifying, creating new typologies, sharing that content, and that leads to many other things. So you're not just kind of categorized as like a residential architect or a commercial architect in that sense.
I think we have deliberately always kind of, phased out things, how we want to showcase things. Like, for example, if you put a villa, then the next project will not be a villa.
Yeah,
So we
because
we
strategically.
hold back and we kind of put a proper nice chota sa 2 BHK apartment. Then we'll suddenly put an office. So we strategically kind of phase it out, even if the project is fresh, new, whatever, the photo shoot has just happened. But we just phase it out so that it kind of just creates a storytelling that there is a lot of diversity that we do. And because eventually, I mean, every creative person would eventually be facing this thing of, getting typecasted.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And actually, that's quite smart from a marketing perspective, right? Because that's the right word, typecast. Because people don't understand here that it's about a sensibility when you're approaching an interior designer or an architect. It's not about the type of project, but the sensibility that you're kind of going to them for. But they're so afraid that if you're only doing homes, would you be able to do an office? So that is a big, big question mark and big hurdle for, I think, everybody.
Just to add to that, I think that's where content creation comes in, where we just don't upload or market the final images or the great photographs that we've taken for the site. Then we actually start to take note of the thought process or the storytelling or the little details or the challenges that actually went into getting the site done. So then you start to broadcast your thought process or your ideologies. So just having that picture perfect Instagram or your social media platform should be little diversified with some raw content as well.
What I'd like to ask is what works and what doesn't work as far as content is concerned? Visual, interactive, or engaging? What kind of content do you guys think works in this design space? Jugal?
I think what we've experienced is extremely candid, real-time stuff, because we travel to a lot of architectural sites, just to show the movement of labors, just the way, different stakeholders of the projects are communicating, interacting on site. This really matters a lot, and this really picks up, is what we've noticed, as opposed to, more glossy renders or more final cut photos. So it's really the process and the way you're articulating the process, whether it's a video, whether it's a sketch or the movement on site. That I think is of a lot of interest to people. It's also very informative. It's also slightly technical, which becomes interesting.
Does the brand spokesperson make a difference? Do you think people perceive the brand with the brand spokesperson's identity also?
Absolutely. I think that's a very big way.
That's how we have all the architects and designers as to having these thick glasses, fancy shoes and outfits.
But you know what?
Less architects, more celebrities now.
But Sakina, I'll tell you what, also content today has also gone into various buckets. Today you have people on Instagram as designers also not just talking about their projects, but you have women talking about their motherhood and how that's kind of, they've balanced it, or there's a story about how their journey has been, or they've been a non-designer and they've become a... So I think the entire climate has changed a lot and we really don't know what works, but you got to kind of have a mix of everything is what I feel.
I think educational, as in anything which you draw value from, always by default works rather than trending or.
That's exactly my next question. Trending or responsible? What is it that works in design?
I personally feel responsible.
Responsible.
For sure.
Yes. Completely agree. I think. Like
Sahil, the way I know you, I'm 100% you'll have responsible as your answer. Swathy?
I think responsible, but you can put it out in a trending way. Why not? So that's a perspective you can take.
But that's a little blurry then.
Not really, because see, if there is a specific thing that's trending, right? And if you have a story that could be real, I mean, you're not making up a story. And if you're able to resonate that, why not?
Raj?
Considering the current attention span of the users and us also, I think trending is what could be forecasted for a couple of years now, because I think you need to be exciting, you need to shift up some content so that you are able to, showcase that you are diversified and you're up to the trends and you're constantly evolving. I think these are like the keywords that we constantly hear in such platforms, but it's also true because consistency is good in terms of deliverable and thought process, but I think trending is a must in I think I'm contradicting myself back and forth.
Would you ask us what one trend is what we all hate?
Yeah, I want to ask, I will get to that. I want to ask another thing is that, you see a lot of, like Swathy said, that people who've not done design, they jump into design and they are like huge, huge roars. How much does it say ouch to all of you sitting here?
All the time.
Very much.
It's painful.
I have a bandage here.
Don't ask questions to which you don't want the answer.
We just put a smile out here and...
No, because tell me even about newness and consistency. Like, there is a brand vision you have, and going through, giving yourself to the new evolvement of design that happens. How much do you think you can put that vision in your platforms out there with the new approaches that come out? I'd like any one of you can pick that as an answer.
I think newness is something which is quite subjective, because something that, a particular set of audience would know is not known by the other. So newness is quite subjective that way. But yes, I mean, if you're definitely working with an intention of providing value or providing that, that little information or little tweak, that this is what you could do to save upon, say, resources or cost or labor or, anything. So that would kind of always come in handy, and that is something that I would want, as an audience, I would want to use. So when it comes into me as a use, then of course it is something new to me and something which is quite relatable immediately. So I would personally, instead of newness, I would say relatable would be more.
I think not newness, but I think it's the rigor in your thought and practice which will lead to an outcome which is new. and I think rigor is the right word, because all our clients and audience are so well informed about designs, so they know what is upcoming, what is happening around the world. So the same ideologies and using the same process to design multiple projects, I don't think it works. So you need to get very rigorous about the thought process and your design in general, and automatically you would kind of perceive that there's something that's fresh that's coming out of the project. So I think that's my thought on that.
You know, another thing which normally we get to hear from design studios is the perception that they have, they create. It helps them to employ and get people out there, the right kind of resources. So when you're creating content, do you even have that somewhere at the back of the mind? Because these students over here who are looking out to join architectural studios, they no more, I think, visit your websites. They immediately touch base with Instagram, right? So does that matter when you're creating content, that are we approaching the right angles to get these new resources?
I personally feel that
sorry. Do you mean, does that attract talent? Is that the
Attract
question?
talent, yes. Would you want that to get you the right kind of talent? So the content over there
Absolutely.
matters a lot, right?
Yeah,
because they're
absolutely.
studying that.
Absolutely, because as a growing firm, you're always looking to expand your team. You want good people working with you, and it's great if people are reaching out to you, because it means that they've done their homework, they've done their research, they've gone through the kind of stuff they do, they can relate to it. At some level, they feel they can value add being part of your team. So I guess it works.
So, Sakina, strangely, I mean, because we are sitting with a set of students here, we get so many requests on Instagram. And, I always give a chance for anyone to come who's approached. And when they come for interviews, they are already seen so much of your content, and they're talking about it to you. It kind of sparks a conversation. It's beyond just the regular questions you're asking, because your conversation's a little more high level, where you're talking about what the company is, and it's important for us to, tell them that this is the mission, vision of the company, and since you've done your homework, are you going to align with this? Because it's not just about getting the right talent, it's also what you're giving out back to them.
True.
So that's very important, and I think that's the responsibility we all need to have.
Very true.
So I think your question was that whether we create content with that intention. I think
Yes.
no. We don't create content with that intention to hire or to kind of, engage young students into the firm. It is always a byproduct. It is always a good byproduct that we get, that yes, I mean, somebody is aligning with you, and that's why they want to be a part of the
Part of
team.
your
So
firm.
it is not always with the intention of this, but it's a very good byproduct.
Have you got any resource coming up like that, okay, I saw this project you worked in
Very
and
much.
it really
Very
interested
much.
me?
Since the days magazines used to work. So since that time, we used to get such,
Do you miss that era?
yes.
Yeah, only print, because this is absolute instant gratification. And how does one handle criticism that comes along with perception? Like, I know, I mean, I'm not going to say who, but there are some people who have a distinct style of design. And when that is put up, you have, I think, how many comments that come up criticizing that style?
Trolls.
Trolls, yes, absolutely. So how do you handle that? Because that's one-off. Like as Sahil said, then you can get typecast. And it can just spill further of the other 10 posts that you've done. So
you
how does
kind
one
of
handle
take it
that?
with
Give me
take
a
it with
case study. I want to know if there was something that happened. Does anybody have that?
Case study, okay. No, I don't have a case study, but it always is kind of, one particular color that you've used on certain things.
Yeah.
So certain of those kind of things, when people kind of, either appreciate or criticize, you take both with pinch of salt. That, I mean,
Agreed. I think
it doesn't get to your head.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably you're preaching to the choir here, because we work with such an aesthetic sensibility that I know for a fact that we're swimming against the tide. Very, very few takers for this kind of a sensibility. But, you kind of stick to, you kind of try and stick to what your core ethos is and not tailor your ethos to the needs of the market.
Okay, so tell me now, larger audience or niche engagement? What does one prefer in a design studio? Do you want the larger audience or your niche engagement?
Both.
Niche.
Yes, I'd know that.
Both.
Both? That's greedy.
Of course.
Niche.
Why not?
Niche.
Niche,
Niche
yeah?
for sure,
So
yeah.
what is the niche?
Niche is, I mean, what interests you? What are you attracted
What
to?
is your kind of
exactly?
work?
What can you relate to? You know, so it's just the general, I think, energy that flows out. So, I guess niche audience.
Raj?
I think a larger audience,
Nice.
because then you don't know what kind of content clicks with the other audience. So it gives you more opportunity to engage with them with multiple kinds of content instead of just focusing on a singular typology of thought. So you constantly put out like different kinds of work, and oftentimes even the audience don't know that it's what they're looking for. So maybe a larger audience can resonate and bring the firm to more diversified sort of projects.
When you have clients, do they come with referral or do they come with your social media engagements or your background checks, or how do you get your new clients?
I think it's both.
Mostly referral?
Both.
In our case, it's mainly by word of mouth. We've not had too much luck with social media in that sense, but you know, because it's such a sort of, it caters to such a niche sort of clientele, I think that's what's worked for us. But yeah, I think it really depends to each his own.
I have statistics of 20%, 80%. So 20% social media, 80% referrals by default. So.
But social media anyway is kind of an outreach.
Correct.
It does not, I mean, seldom does it get business. But, you know, when people are checking them, they know that, okay, this is, in fact, media also now resorts to social media.
Yes.
I mean, whenever we propose any project or whatever, they go back to the social media to check as to what has been put out, what else is there.
Yeah.
Raj, you're looking very lost.
Yeah, for me, I think personally, 99% is word of mouth, but there is this 1% shift that we are seeing how social media can be an accelerator to the kind of projects, typologies, and regions that you can work on. So for now, it's word of mouth, but I think that shift slowly needs to be adopted and catered to.
Okay, content creating can be stressful. You guys go through that stress?
Yes.
Not really. I
No?
think I'm
You're quite a natural?
chilled about, quite chilled about
So
it.
give me a
no
content
stress.
saving hack. Give me a hack which you've used.
I think AI is
AI.
very, very useful when it comes to, you know, kind of doing things quickly. So, of course, we are not relying on, say, Mid-Journey and Clip Drop and to generate images or to generate stuff. But, of course, when it comes to, say, you know, seasonal greetings or some things of that sort, we kind of course, rely to AI. So,
No, I'm not talking of your courtesy greetings and stuff
Of
like
course.
that. With your design projects, you know, is there a hack at times where you've used, where the content you've created is, you know, you've done it once and then you do it another way and it's kind of more engaging or more
Yes.
something like that that you've done
So
in your
certain things
practice?
are when these reels caught up in 2020, 21-ish. So we kind of started doing all our pictures into reels with a little bit of dynamism and music and stuff like that, and it kind of got a little more better engagement than what it would have got on static images. So that was one hack. And of course, using logical and ethical AI would always make sense when you kind of, you know, generate your text and content.
Jugal?
I guess, you know, we've kind of, we've also explored reels, and I guess the algorithm also keeps changing. So, you know, once you're kind of latching onto something, it changes very quickly. So I guess the new thing now is posts, and also we capture things in real time. So we try to capture as much as possible when we are on site. So we're saving a lot of time. And then once we are back in the studio, one can always edit and, you know, upload all the information that's with us, you know, with any particular project.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a very interesting format in that manner. So what we do is we create, everybody in the team has an email ID, which is a Gmail ID, of course. And we create a group as a photo album on Google. So if I am going on site today, I click pictures and I upload it on the photo album. If somebody else in the team goes to the site, that person uploads. So basically then at the end of the entire journey, we don't have to keep hunting, arey iska photos leke aa, us din ka photos leke aa, that kind of thing. So we have a chronological journey of the entire site by default, whoever has clicked it. So that's a very interesting format that we've been following.
That's a good form. That's a very structured way of creating content, you know. So I think even content creation needs a structure. And I'm glad you're sharing this because a lot of design studios can take clue from that, you know. Because otherwise it's ad hoc. And then you sit and amalgamate all together and realize. But then this is a good way to do it.
So by the way, our entire team functions remotely. Nobody goes to office. So this kind of format really helps when, you know, we are all kind of working separately at separate locations. So that's why this kind of organization has come into place.
Super. I hope you guys had enough to know about content creation and brand identity. Any questions? No questions? Was the Gyan so good?
They're all Gen Z, yeah? So smarter than us.
Yes. Mike.
Yeah. Is it on?
Yes.
Any questions from the audience?
So my question to all the panelists, after this session, is there any change in the plan in their mind that how they was working earlier, or how was that they was thinking earlier, and now the plan is changed? So I mean to say is like in future, is there any change they are thinking after this session, or they are fixed with their plan?
Guys, is there a change?
We're going to form a Google Drive and chronologically document everything.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah,
idea.
that was a great idea. And I think we also spoke of trying to make the process a lot more transparent and more kind of audience-centric. So that's something that I personally would like to work on, because we've always been, the content has been more kind of end product driven and not process driven, and that's the shift that we consciously would like to make.
I think I would like to now start documenting my sketches also.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Start
That is
to
something
finish,
that I've
right?
been
Yeah.
constantly missing out on, and everything is on just the iPad. So I need to start taking screenshots and put them also into the album.
Raj, are you going to change something?
I think consciously think about
Inviting
brand
Prashant to
identity.
lunch?
Consciously thinking about it, I think, is something we need to practice, which probably as designers, maybe we do. Personally, I don't really think too deeply about it, but I think it's time to consciously start thinking and structuring your thoughts about perception of the audience.
Jugal.
I think being structured obviously is a great point, and I guess this is now just a part of the architectural practice. You know, it's just an add-on scope of work. You know, that is a given. So it's no longer just you've done the design, you've gone and supervised the site, you've handed over the project. This is something that every firm, every individual who's in the design space needs to embed within their working culture.
Sakina, I have something that I want to, in fact, address it out to, because there are all the students here. See, generally, I feel like in our line, right, when we go abroad, right, the foreign architects, they have such a beautiful way of branding themselves. Every building you go, it's not just the fraternity, but even the audience, right? They know who's designed it, they know the architect. But in India, in your own city, you will not know who the architect is or anything. So my advice to all the students out here is, spark that curiosity on, if you like a design, try to find out who's the architect behind it, what's gone, probably even getting in touch with them. I think that will go a long way in branding ourselves as designers and making an impact to the entire fraternity.
Absolutely. Very, very true. because everything you see out there is designed by an architect or a designer. So yes, I think that's a good note to end it on. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you, my panelists.
Thank you.
Lovely
so
having you
much.
guys on board.
Thanks, Sakina. Was wonderful as always.